My name is Lori Matson, and I will be your instructor. Please note that this is intended to be an advanced version for Excel. It is recommended that you take our Introduction to Excel first. Although I will introduce some of the basic features, the true aspect of this course is to delve into the powerful tools of Excel. Our objectives are to increase your productivity. In doing so, I will reduce your error ratio and I will simplify your workflow. To do this, I will concentrate on automating your task, avoiding duplication, and using the tools of Excel to get our work done twice as fast. This will help us eliminate frustration and increase the time that we have available for other projects. In order to achieve our objectives, we will be covering a variety of tasks, tools, and tips. These include working with formulas, reviewing functions, and delving into conditional formats. In our introduction of formulas, we will work with VLOOKUPs, arrays, conditional statements, and other advanced components. Although I will have a very brief introduction to the philosophy of formulas, this is not intended as an introduction course. After working with formulas, I'll delve into the secrets behind macros and Visual Basic. I'll show you how you can learn Visual Basic starting with a macro. We'll use lookups and validation rules to protect the data that we have within our spreadsheets, and we'll use these lookups to reduce errors. We will continue with chats about advanced charts, graphs, and pivot tables. Now again, it'll be a brief introduction to the subject, but we'll delve into the more specialty features such as single point charts, dynamic graphs, and even combination charts. In pivot tables, we'll talk in terms of adding calculations, putting on conditional formats, and even quickly adding all our pages to a quick view. Throughout, we'll talk in terms of using named references. I'll show you how much time that can be saved by naming a reference rather than using a cell range. Also, we'll take advantage of three-dimensional formulas, external links, and using features such as Paste Special to eliminate a lot of the mundane tasks that we get caught on in a day-to-day aspect. I do recommend a specific course of action for learning these concepts. In order to ensure success, I'd really like to focus on the retention of the material. As a result, I recommend that first you just watch and listen. After going through the videos, then go back and practice the components. When practicing, review the workload that you have so that you can actually apply it to your actual spreadsheets. I have included work files with these movies so that you can print them and go through the step-by-steps of these concepts. For those of you using previous versions, I would like you to note that all of these labs are applicable. Keep in mind that it is only the shell that is different between 2007 and the prior legacy versions. When we use the term shell, we talk in terms of what you see on the screen. The menu systems have indeed changed. However, once you get past those menu systems, the dialog boxes are the same. You will see that it's just the screenshot that's different. I have, though, included the screenshots from all the prior versions so that you can see exactly where the change takes place. You will find that the labs work wonderfully. The features are the same. It is the shell that is different. So whether you are using 2007, 2003, 2000, or 97, the movies and the labs are applicable for all. As mentioned earlier, I will be utilizing Excel 2007 throughout this series. I realize that many of us are still using the legacy versions for 2003 and beyond. I will utilize a device called Microsoft's Interactive Command Reference Tool to show you the variations on the actual screenshots. What I'd like you to note is that if you are going to be upgrading from 2003 to 2007, this is an excellent way to learn the commands. For instance, I'm in 2007 and I'm going to go up to the Formulas bar. Under Formulas, you will notice that I have Name Manager, which will define a name. Now I'm going to actually toggle over to the 2003 screen. In 2003, when we were looking for our names, we would need to know to go to the Insert menu. Insert, Name, and Define. What the 2003 to 2007 tool allows me to do is to choose the command in 2003 and get a description of where it is at in 2007. When I select it, it will actually pull up 2007 on the screen, show me that it's in Formulas in Name Manager. When I close, I'm right back to the 2007 screen. I have included a copy of this reference tool in our work files. You will notice the zip file. Simply open it up, extract the file, and you are ready to go. This is a great tool when you are upgrading. It's a wonderful tool to see the differences between the screenshots. Shortcuts have long been one of my favorite ways to save time and automate some activities within Excel. I'd like to share some of my more favorite ones with you. Probably the most commonly asked question is, how can I go ahead and put two lines in the same cell in Excel? The answer: use the Alt key in conjunction with Enter when you're going to do your data entry. For instance, I'm going to type in first line. Now instead of just hitting Enter, I'm going to hit the Alt, the Alt key, which is next to the space bar, and then hit Enter. You will notice that it automatically brings me to a second line. I'll hit Enter, and both the first line and second are now in the cell. Let's go up to the formula bar for a moment. Off to the right-hand side, you'll notice a toggle bar. This allows me now to go to the second line and the first line. You can have as many lines in one cell as you would like to. Now, as we work with our shortcut, of course, all of the basic shortcuts are available within Excel. They're very easy to remember also, because most of them start with the first letter of the word. For instance, if I'd like my title now to be in bold, I'll go to Control and B for bold. If I'd like italics, Control and I for italics. Notice the changes right on the screen. I'd also like you to notice that on the ribbon, I have turned on the bold and the italics function. When working with the shortcuts, I'm actually toggling these features on and off, and I can see them right on the screen. Now, along with splitting a line within a cell, I also like to take advantage of the Alt key for putting in an auto sum. Let's set up an example. First, in order to use the auto sum, I need some numbers. So I'd like to introduce the autofill option. I am going to type in a number, and now I'm going to fill it on the screen. On the cell, you will notice that there is a black square at the lower side. I'm going to place my mouse on it. It turns to a plus sign. Click, hold, and drag. Now I clicked with the right side of my mouse, and I'm presented with a menu that allows me to choose Fill Series. If I was to click with the left side of the mouse, it would only have filled the number. In this example, I'm doing a left click, and you noticed it copied. In the first example, I'm going to do a right click, and when I use that right click, you will notice that it's actually going to allow me a choice, and I can fill the series. That's really the difference between the left and right. Left to select what you see on the screen, right to get more options. Now that I have my numbers on the screen, I can simply select the Alt key again, the Alt key, and this time the plus sign. When I do, notice how the sum function comes up automatically. Simply hit Enter, and my total is on the screen, never having to touch the mouse. Many of us use notebooks and laptops, and we find that conversion back and forth to the mouse can be just a little bit of a nuisance. Understanding that everything can be done on the keyboard is really an advantage. Other shortcuts that come in handy is the ability to select anything on the screen. I'm going to hold my Shift key down with the space bar this time. When I do, notice how I selected a row. If I'd like to deselect, I simply use the arrow key on the keyboard. This time I'm going to do the same thing with the Control key. Control spacebar, and I selected the column. I like to think in terms of C for control, C for column. Control spacebar is the column, and Shift spacebar is the row. If I do both of them in conjunction with each other, first the row and then the column, I select the entire worksheet. I'd also like you to keep in mind that we can format our numbers this way. I'm going to use the $ on my keyboard to automatically change the number 1 into currency. This time, Control Shift and the $ automatically puts on my currency. Control Shift and the tilde automatically puts on the number format. Now the tilde is the little squiggle mark that you'll find just under the escape key. I do of course realize that going through these shortcuts very quickly can be hard to absorb. You will note that in the work files that accompany this video, I have given you a listing of these shortcuts. I'd encourage you to go through this list and pick out your favorites. You will note at the bottom the tilde, the percentage, dollar, all of the number formats are there for you. The advantage of working with shortcuts is time. One thing I'd like you to keep in mind as you go through these shortcuts is don't try to use them all. Find the ones that really help you along. Use those. Don't worry about the rest. One of my favorite tools has always been autocorrect options. Autocorrect is what actually takes care of our typographical errors. For instance, I'm going to type in don't, but notice how I did not put in the apostrophe. When I tab, the apostrophe was placed there for me automatically. That happened because of autocorrect options. It automatically corrects all of our typographical errors that are preset within Excel. However, there's another wonderful use for this. We can actually use it as a type of automation and set up little mini macros for ourselves. And that's what I'd like to talk about in this movie. First, notice that in 2007, I'll be going to the Office button to Excel Options and Proofing. Prior versions, just go to the Tools menu. You'll see Autocorrect right there. Let's go to the Office button. Excel Options is on the bottom, now to Proofing, and finally to Autocorrect. At this point, all of our screens will look identical. You will notice that there is a host of different words, both the typographical error and the correction. The idea is, if I misspell across, it will automatically be corrected. Now, if this list is in essence replacing something that we typed, why couldn't we type in 1 or 2 letters and have it replace it with a word? Well, we can, and that's what makes this so powerful. I'm going to the word replace, and I'm going to type in an E. Now notice that I chose to type a capital letter. It can be set up to be case sensitive so that you can have certain commands for a small e, certain commands for a large E. I'm now going to go to the with and say Excel. Whoops, we spelled that, so we'll go back. EXCEL Automation. When I say Excel Automation and hit Add, my shortcut is now in the system. I'll go down to OK. OK to the dialog box, and I'm back on my spreadsheet. I'm going to type in capital E. Now I can tab, I can enter. As long as I go to another cell, you'll notice the words that I typed in under with are replaced on the screen. This can save so much typing. Many of us nowadays have to put legal disclaimers on all of our documents. This is a great way to do so. If you use the word confidential, we can set it up for confidential. Let's go through it one more time. Office button, Options, Proofing, Autocorrect. I'll type in 1 or 2 letters that I'd like to type. Now a footnote for you here. Be careful about typing in letters that will form a word. For instance, if you type in IT, when you really want to type in it, you may find that your autocorrect comes up automatically. Now you can backspace over it and go back to the word it, but it can get a little frustrating when you have to backspace to correct it. I recommend using a combination of 1 or 2 letters that normally don't spell a word. I'm going to use the letter C this time, and I'm going to say please replace it with confidential. I've typed in confidential. Once again, I'm going to add and say OK to accept my new entry. I'll say OK to the dialog box, and I'm back on my screen. Again, I'll type in the capital letter C. This time hit the Enter key, and there's my confidential. You can see that this can save you a tremendous amount of time. Think through all of the phrases that you would like to automate and add them to your autocorrect dictionary today.